Let's go straight to George Pascoe-Watson. He's a former political editor of The Sun and joins us now. A very good morning to you.
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Lovely to chat to you. OK, so among the reasons why Rachel Reeves should resign today, apparently, is because she didn't get a licence to rent out her property when she moved into the flat in Downing Street. It was 11. She lives in the 10 Downing Street one. The Prime Minister lives in the 11 Downing Street one because it's bigger. But she should have got a licence in her local area. She didn't get it. She's broken the law by doing that. We're also expecting, we are told in the newspapers, she could well put up income tax by 2p in the pound, a basic rate. A clear breach of the Labour manifesto commitments of July 2024. Are either or both of those reasons why she should be forced to go?
Well, obviously, there's a huge amount of news in this story, which explains why Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, and Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, moved super quick, at lightning speed last night, to bring an end to this story, because it is destabilising to the government at a critical time, not for the government, but for us, for our listeners and our viewers this morning, because Rachel Reeves, as Chancellor, has to command the confidence of the markets who dictate the price of this country's debt. And all of that matters to us immensely.
Hold on a minute. Are you saying that if there was some question marks about her future, that would affect the markets? Because I would have thought the markets would go up if they thought they were getting rid of Rachel Reeves.
I would say that the markets right now are currently relatively comfortable with her, particularly 6 weeks before a budget, and I think that does matter, which is why I'm saying that Number 10 moves so quickly to try and nip this story in the bud. This story is a difficult story. It's embarrassing for the Chancellor. I happen to agree with you, Julia. I think your view is that this is the sort of thing you would expect an estate agent, a letting agent, to know back to front. We can't pretend that she is unaware of the licence that's required. She's campaigned for it. So, and she's not a stupid person, despite what some people might think. She's a very intelligent person and would be seen desperately trying to do the right thing by the law. Of course she should. And this, I think, is a mistake, of course. But I think that it's embarrassing and difficult, because it's the sort of thing, when you're dealing with taxes and licensing and registration, that has legs. And it's the sort of thing that investigative journalists perfectly legitimately can and will continue to look through. What are the unintended consequences?
And especially after Angela Rayner not paying her full stamp duty that was due. I mean, these people seem to have a big problem. We've got Rachel Reeves' problems with her CV. You'd think after the whole, did I not work as an economist at HBOS, Halifax Bank of Scotland? Did I or did not work for 10 years as an economist at the Bank of England? I mean, getting those things, in inverted commas, wrong. I mean, you'd think she'd be like, for the love of God, I've got to do everything absolutely to the letter of the law. I've got to be seen to be whiter than white. Sloppy is the most generous thing you can say, isn't it?
What I would say is that back in the day when I was in Parliament working for The Sun, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have the scrutiny that public figures have today. And that's just a fact of life. And people now have pasts reflected and scrutinised that they've never done before. And of course, I wonder, Julia, in the days that you and I worked together, how many of the politicians, the governing figures that we had in those days, would have been guilty of the same oversights and mistakes and maybe exaggerations here and there that weren't open to scrutiny, and they are now. And I think that's really what's happening. Do I think Rachel Reeves is a bad person who is in some way corrupt in any way? Not at all. I don't think that in any way, shape or form, and I think that's why the Prime Minister was happy to move quickly.
But he also doesn't want to lose her, because he knows that no matter whatever the kite flying or whatever the actual realities of the budget, and again, it's actually only 4 weeks away, it's creeping up on us rather quickly, that when that budget comes, it's going to be bad. There is no good outcome from that budget. However bad it is, it's going to be bad. And at that point, he wants all the blame to go on Rachel Reeves' shoulders and not his.
I think ideally, that's right. We've seen chancellors being sort of left to carry the difficult news in the past, to separate them from the Prime Minister. Although in this case, of course, Keir coming out last night very, very quickly in an exchange of letters and supporting Rachel does make him rather wedded to her. And I think they are actually wedded for the duration. I think what's the other question you asked me was about the 2p income tax raise, which is being talked about. It was talked about a little while ago, resolution Solution Foundation is a think tank that used to be run by Torsten Bell, who is one of Rachel Reeves's junior ministers in the Treasury. And this story has surfaced before. I think a 1p increase in income tax is more likely closer to the mark. And the question will be, but you lied to the nation. You said there would be no raise in taxes on working people. I mean, obviously, they'll find a form of words if they go down this road and try and justify what they've done. The fact is, Julia, this country has way lived beyond its means for some years. We are not generating enough money in this economy and the world's economy to pay for the services and the lifestyle that we've all come to expect. And the only way of dealing with this, really, and keeping the cost of our debt down as a nation, is to cut public spending. And this is where Labour's biggest problem is, and Rachel Reeves's biggest problem is Labour MPs will not let them cut public spending. And as long as that remains the case, they've got to find money from somewhere. And a lot of people say to me, I wouldn't mind paying a little bit more on income tax if I thought the tax was being well spent on a brilliant NHS, on great roads and schools and hospitals and infrastructure. But the fear is the money isn't. The money gets blown away, not on changes and improvements and efficiency gains. It just goes down the same hole on salaries and pensions, and nothing ever changes.
Or asylum accommodation.
Or
500 quid for a violent sex offender migrant being paid to get on a plane back to Ethiopia. I mean, that's the reality. People say they don't trust it. But I agree with you 100%. The answer is actually, I mean, don't put my taxes up and everyone watching and listening to this taxes up at the same time as a load of people are not working and just contributing absolutely nothing and they're perfectly able-bodied and able-minded enough to be able to work. That's where the real problem is. And there's no chance at all that this Prime Minister or this Chancellor's got a hope in hell's chance of getting to grips with that, with, as you say, the Labour backbenchers' mood.
And not only that, if you tie this back to Rachel Reeves's situation right now with her rent licence, that licence, some people say, has been introduced by a whole bunch of councils up and down the country, not to improve the condition of rental properties, but it's a revenue-generating tool because councils themselves have run out of money. Why? Because the cost of caring for old people in an age where people live a lot longer has crippled us. We can't afford to do that in the current situation we find ourselves. So everybody's trying to find more revenues from somewhere, and that's how she ends up in a position that she's found herself in this morning.
Yeah, I mean, the budget is just going to be an absolute horror show. It really, really is. And the horror show continues for the Prime Minister and indeed the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmouda, and others over the migrants, sex offenders, rapists, the murderers. There's now another man facing charges, is a suspect involved with the stabbing of a dog walker and a man and his son as well. Just earlier this week, the stories just keep on coming of either people being convicted, being sentenced, being deported, or being charged with horrendous violent crimes. And the government doesn't seem to be remotely getting a grip on this.
I think it's very hard for this government, any government, to get a grip on this situation. This situation has been growing for a long time. And don't forget, it was probably under Boris Johnson's government that the problem began to be more challenging, and it's really hard for the Home Office to get on top of it. The police service is already stretched. You have many thousands of officers leaving the force each year, and it's difficult to recruit their replacements. And also, are they being told what policing to prioritise in their areas? And we have a situation where every day, it seems, certainly every week, we're getting difficult headlines, and really difficult headlines. This stuff matters to real people in real communities, and it's their privacy, and it's their respect, and it's their society and their safety above all else. And there's not a lot the government can do about it because we are stuck with the European Convention on Human Rights, which prevents people from governments from kicking people out rightfully. And even when they do, as you say, the only way we could get the most recent figure out in the last couple of days was by offering a bit of a bribe of £500 of taxpayers' money to do so. And then he goes and does an interview and says, by the way, I was trying to hand myself into the police. And so it all seems farcical. If it wasn't farcical and dangerous, it would be almost comic.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is. George Pascoe-Watson, always good to talk to you, former political editor of The Sun.